Good morning, and welcome to the Rock and Roll Real Estate Hour, starring Gary Rossignol of Berkshire Hathaway Professional Realty. To be part of the program, dial 513-749-1480 to get answers to all your questions about your home and property. The number again, 513-749-1480. And now, here's Gary.
Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome to 2015 on the Rock and Roll Real Estate Hour in the Palacious Studios of 1480 WDJO. You like that, don't you, Kevin? We invite you to just sit back and relax. We plan on bringing you some compelling discussions, musical thoughts, and a chance to learn something about your home, neighborhood, and community where you live here in Cincinnati area. My special guest this morning, I've been trying to get him in here for 2 years now, I think. Something like that.
Been that long?
You are the first vice president of mortgage lending at First Financial Bank. My dear friend Ed Hensley. We go way back. 27 years, 28 years.
It's been a while.
Well, we've seen each other since then, but we go back a long time. My very first loan officer I ever worked with, and you taught me a lot since then. You still teach me things today. Pick up the phone, I got a question, you're always there to answer it.
One thing about this business, it always changes.
Never,
always something new.
Never the same. When you think you know it all, you've seen it all of a sudden something pops up, go, wow. It throws you for a loop. Anyhow, we'll be talking in just a few minutes. Later on in the show, we're going to have a short visit from my friend Ria Davidson. She's one of the co-founders of the Dragonfly Foundation. If you have a question for me or Ed Hensley, you can call us at 513-749-1480. And I do have a trivia question. We have a nice gift for the second caller that can name the group that recorded the song Sunshine of Your Love. There's a significant reason for that. The group that recorded the song Sunshine of Your Love, second caller at 513-749-1480 will win a $25 gift certificate to Brew River Gastropub, an excellent restaurant here in town. So jump on board and be the second caller. At this time, I'd love to express my gratitude to all the active members and all the veterans of the various departments of the armed forces who selflessly fight to keep our nation free. They get up and, they travel halfway across the world. They leave their families, their homes, their careers. Some of them give their lives so that we can enjoy the freedoms that we have today, and they don't get enough appreciation. So if you're out and about and you see someone who's in the military, give them the thank you sign, pick up their tab, shake their hand, give them a hug, doggone it. Let them know we care about them and we love them, and we can't do without them. If you're thinking about buying a home, call a realtor. If you're thinking about selling a home, call a realtor. One reason is that we can provide all the necessary up-to-date data about your home in the neighborhood you want to sell or the home you want to buy in the neighborhood you want to buy in, to purchase through our active membership with the National Association of Realtors, the Ohio Association of Realtors, the Cincinnati Area Board of Realtors, and our local multiple listing service. We have the updated, to-the-moment, accurate data that you need to perform those duties. It just annoys me when people call me, they want to look at houses that they got off of Zillow.com. And it's probably one of the worst places you can find a house is on Zillow.com. And you don't want to try and sell your house or buy your house without the professional help of a realtor. And I do that for a living. I've been doing that since 1986, the year I met Mr. Hensley. And if you want to know how well I do it, you can go to my website, which is PricelineHomes.com. There you can download my amazing 39-step system to get your home sold fast and for top dollar. Dave and Andy and Mason, Crooked Tree, they called on me. We sold their house in less than 60 days. Now they're enjoying their new home out in Arizona where they moved. And we made them very happy. If you're interested if you want the deal of the century, here's the deal of the century. Well, the deal of the day anyway. Regency Run is a condominium development, which is right on the cuffs of Fairfield, right there in Springfield Township, for $63,500. A 2-bedroom, 2 full bath, new carpet, new paint, new appliances, washer and dryer included, everything, for 63.5. You can't beat that with a stick. If anybody was, call me anytime today, 513-777-2402, and buy that. Between me and the owner, who is my cousin, we will cover the first 2 months of HOA fees for you. So give us a call and let us know. We'll be happy to do that for you. Now I'd like to turn my attentions to my guest of honor today, Mr. Ed Hensley. You've been in the business longer than me. When did you get in the business?
I got into business in 1981.
Okay, so you got about 5 years on me. And I met you, I was with, remember Olga Hawkins? You still run across?
Still run across Olga.
She taught me a lot. She really taught me a lot. And I remember the things she taught me even today. So you're the first vice president of mortgage lending. What kind of position is that? Is there a higher chain of command you can go?
Well, there's always higher. There's always, everybody's got a boss somewhere. But my function is to run the mortgage department from the application, processing, underwriting, closing, all the way till we deliver it to the ultimate investor.
And you oversee a bunch of loan officers.
Correct.
Okay. How many?
In the greater Cincinnati area, we have about 15, 16 LOs.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
Our footprint as a bank goes from Cincinnati to Dayton to Columbus, Ohio, up to Van Wert, Salina.
So do you drive all those areas?
Not as much as I used to,
Okay.
but occasionally. We're also in Indiana, Columbus, Indiana,
Mhm.
Indianapolis, all the way up to Northwest Indiana, right before the Illinois border with Chicago.
Wow.
So we're on
Wow.
the outskirts there.
Yeah.
Each market obviously is distinctive, and as we said, it changes all the time.
Yeah, it does. Shout out to your lovely wife, Kathy.
Well, thanks. I'll tell her you said hello.
I'm sure she's tuning in. Mom and Dad's doing well?
Doing well.
Great.
History there. You sold them their house,
Yeah.
and they're still there, and you sold their prior house.
Yep.
And I think
Yep.
in a very quick pace.
That was fun. Yeah, right
Yeah.
there in Norwood on the
Yeah,
hill. That
in
was.
Norwood, yes.
I remember the house.
And they've been in Erlanger
You,
ever since.
you grew up in Norwood, didn't you?
I did, but not in that particular house. But yeah, that's where I
Yeah.
grew up.
Well, we go back to 1986, and you were with Huntington Mortgage at the time. And, of course, we still both use Rakina Niehaus. She's my go-to when it comes to real estate attorneys. And I know you still work with her quite a bit, too. And
Yes.
we had a really nice, tight-knit little thing going back then, you know. I'd get a buyer, I'd send them to you, you got them financed, and Rakina would close them. And it seems like when I look back at those days, there weren't any problems.
Well, history changes. We've went through a lot since then. With let's say when we first started.
How did we do business back? And you do have two cell phones.
Yes.
I've got two cell phone numbers for you,
Yeah.
and you carry two cell phones.
Yeah.
Back then, we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have fax machines. We didn't have the internet. How did we do business?
Back in those days, lending was more manual driven. We didn't have access to a credit report like right now. If I have you have a customer call me today, I can have a credit report
10 minutes.
in just a few minutes.
Yeah,
Back
Used
in
to
those
take-
days, we had to order the credit
Yeah.
report. It might take 3 to
5 days.
7 days,
Yeah.
or whatever the case may be. But the rules were more manual, and society progressed, the industry progressed. We started automating. You and I talked about that a little bit before. Automated underwriting systems came into play with Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll tell you, yeah, you can do this deal, or no, you can't do
Which
this deal.
takes the personality out of it.
It does. And when you and I first started in this, it was a lot was how did you structure that deal? Maybe this buyer doesn't fit into this program, but if they do this in 6 months, they can come back and
Mhm.
do this. We did a lot of counseling back in those days.
Mhm.
But I think really, Gary, what was old is new again. That's starting to happen again. If you fast forward and you go into the early 2000s, the mortgage credit got extremely loose. It didn't matter if you had a 500 credit score and you could get a loan with no income verified. Obviously, the market crashed, overcorrected itself. Lending got too tight. Now it's kind of trying to find that needle in the middle. But the key is still dealing with how that customer goes.
Are we getting back to the problems that caused the market to crash? It was
No.
all the 3% down, the 100% financing, the roll the closing costs in on top of the 100% financing, and stretching your what do you call them, your ratios to 55 and 60%.
I think a lot of what caused the crash was the no income, no asset verifications, with no minimum credit scores.
Yeah.
Statistically, I can tell you if you make X number of loans to people with credit scores of 580, they're going to default at a certain rate versus the person that has that credit score of 760.
Mm-hmm.
It's just statistically proven. So when the industry got the easy money days back in that early 2000, it watered that down, and that's gone. But now it had overcorrected maybe 2-3 years ago. It's kind of neutralizing itself, and it does come back to how do we structure that buyer? What's the right loan program for them? What can they truly afford?
Hold that thoughts. We'll be back right after these commercial messages. You're listening to the Rock and Roll Real Estate Hour on 1480 WDJO Cincinnati.
At First Financial Bank, we see change as a good thing. Like when we changed our online and mobile technology to help our clients see their money in a whole new way. But sometimes, change isn't so good. Like when your free account starts costing you money. Our eFree checking account puts you in control so you can bank how you want, when you want. If your account is changing, why shouldn't you? Visit your nearest banking center to switch today. First Financial Bank, putting your success first. Member FDIC. E-statements required to open account.
Let's rock the house.
We're rocking the house this morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Gary Rossignol. I'm with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Professional Realty. So anyhow, I have with me in the studio my dear friend Ed Hensley. We go back to 1986 together. You were my very first loan officer, and you taught me the ropes early on. I remember I remember one of the first buyers that I represented, and you had him approved for financing. We're going to go out and take a look at houses, and he says, "I want to drive." Do you remember that story?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I says, no, that's okay. I said, he says, no, I want to drive my brand new car. I says, your what? He said, yeah, I just bought it yesterday. I really love this. It was a Mustang. I says, what, can you put a kitchen sink in your car because you just blew your loan?
It happens.
So, you live and you learn. That was early on. Now I have that little talk with him. Don't buy anything until you buy your house. Yeah. Buy the house. You can buy 3 cars. We'll sell you cars left and right once you have a mortgage. But
and don't change jobs.
Yeah, right. Don't get fired either. So we were talking about getting automated. And is the banking industry going to change? Is it going to fade away? I mean, you can take pictures with your cell phone and make deposits without even walking into the branch.
Well, yeah, Gary, we kind of talked about it a little bit earlier. Banking evolves, and electronic banking. Apple Pay is the big buzzword right now. As you said, scan your check, deposit it. There's always going to be a need for branches. Why you go into a branch might change. How you bank may change, but banking is not going to go away. It's still a clearinghouse. People still need to borrow money. Still people need to conduct transactions. Mm-hmm. It's just going to change, and what we do today won't be what we do in 5 years from now. And I was mentioning to you before, traffic in a typical branch today is probably down anywhere from 30 to 50% of where it was a few years ago. Mm-hmm. And that may change as the future goes. It may stay that way. But banking's not going to go away. We strive to be more automated as a society, and as society does that, banking's going to do that as well. Realtors
thought with the with sharing the data from our multiple listings service and having the automated signing software available and all the internet stuff that we do, we thought, a lot of realtors thought, well, they're going to do away with us, but they can't. We still have, actually, we're more in demand today than what we were before then.
I think what we see on the lending side of the transaction is that people do a lot of research on the internet. Looking at houses, looking at values, shopping mortgage rates as an example. Sometimes they're coming to you pre-approved. I mean, before you can ever say,
they come to me with a list of houses they want to see.
So it's changed, but I always tell people real estate and mortgage it's still a touchy-feely business. Mm-hmm. You've got to go out and look at. Very few people are going to buy that house without going out and looking at it, right? I mean, one of the parties is typically going to go out and look at it. So it's changing how they do it, but they still need you as a real estate professional on structuring that contract and doing the things that we do there. from a mortgage lending standpoint, one of our challenges is how do we get to that customer early on in that process? Because you haven't said it yet, but you always want people pre-approved. You want to know that they can buy that house that you're going to write that contract on. So we're trying to go more direct to that consumer to see if we can get that pre-approval up front, that pre-qualification, whatever the case may be, so that when they do go out to you, they're ready to go. Because the first thing you're going to ask them if they haven't talked to a lender is, hey, here's who I might recommend. Here's one or two people, whatever the number is you have. Give them a call. They're going to tell you what rates are. They'll pull your credit, see what your credit score is, see what program you qualify for, what kind of down payment do you have to work with. A lot of key questions that go into that buying process.
So you left Huntington Mortgage. You went to Provident Bank, I think, for a while, and then you tried to fix the big 5-3. Of course, that didn't work, did it?
It's a big, yeah. They do a lot of things well. I chose to go to where I'm at. We're more of a large community, small regional bank. We're still very much into the customer service experience. Because what's your biggest frustration as a realtor is you want to be able to get a hold of who you're dealing with.
Yep.
Right.
Pick the phone up and call.
You kid me about 2 cell phones, but our staff knows that if they need something, that they can call me.
And you've trained some of the best. I mean, Russell Kling. He's still I still work with Russell, and I work with your guys. You're my go-tos. And I remember one time I called you, and you answered your phone, and there was a lot of noise in the background. I says, "Where are you?" You said, "I'm at the Reds game." I said, "At the Reds game, hang up the phone." But that's how committed you are to your business.
Yeah. I always tell our loan officers, hey, we're big enough that we've got all the products that any large super regional national player has, but we're also small enough that we've got some niche products. With our Champ program, first time home buyer, no MI.
I want to explain it.
And to the point of, hey, if they need help, and loan officers need help, whether it's in the processing, they can pick up the phone and call somebody. They're not getting an offshore call center. They're getting a live person that's in one of our offices. We have some underwriters in Fort Wayne, and yes, we have some underwriters in Columbus, and we have the bulk in Cincinnati, but it's still a live person.
Thing that scares me is when they come to me and they got the pre-approval from Quicken Loans. And they they did it online. They didn't talk to anybody. They just did everything on, and it says that scares me.
Well, I think they've evolved. I mean, I think Quicken is a fine company, but it's like everything else. They're not necessarily a low cost provider. I think people think that they're the lowest rate in town. They're not necessarily that way. You got to watch for all the fees and everything else. Full disclosure, which that's some of the new regulatory things that are out there of more details.
Is that one of the things that's going to be changing this year?
There's a big change coming in August of this year, Gary, and it's that the HUD statement has to be out 3 days prior to closing. And
it was supposed to have been
no changes
48 hours prior, but
that's always been the guy. But you and I know that the title companies sometimes get it to us the minute you're walking in to closing. But I will tell you, life is going to change in August of 2015. The HUD statement has to go out 3 days prior to closing, and it has to be within certain tolerances of that original good faith. If for whatever reason there is a change, so by the time you get that HUD, it's the 3-day window clicks again, and you can't change that. And I'll give you an example.
Okay.
You sell a guy a house. He buys a $250,000 house. He only wants to borrow $125,000. They decide, the borrowers, that, hey, you know what? I'm going to put a deck on. I don't want to put as much down. I want to borrow $150,000 now. So because of that $150,000, some of the fees are going to go up, right? The title insurance might increase a little bit, some recording. There's going to be some ancillary fees. Unless the lender wants to eat those fees, that closing now is going to be delayed for 3 days. That's just an example.
Yeah. I know that it's been some of the processors, I wonder if they even read the contract and know the dates that we have established in the contract. And we've agreed on closing January 30th. And it's the January the 28th they're asking for, requesting more data from the borrower. And I'm saying, how in the world are we going to even get this thing closed on the 30th? Why didn't they ask that 2 weeks ago? That's a big question. Why is that?
Well, the there's a lot of moving parts in a mortgage loan application. How many income docs we look up, how many asset docs. The key is, does the loan officer ask for it up front?
Mm-hmm.
B, does the borrower provide it? Do they apply right away? Our situation is, if we have income and assets, we're going to look at that loan right up front, subject to the appraisal.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not dealing with that the last minute. But there are some realtors out there who will tell their borrower, you know what, don't get your mortgage until after your home inspection.
Oh.
And then the home inspection comes in, and you know that can be a negotiation thing where you're going back and forth. Could be very minor in nature.
Yeah.
But then they wait for 2 weeks before they apply. And
Mm-hmm.
then the appraisal's ordered. It's ordered late. Maybe they're applying on day 14 and they had 28 days to close. You've cut that window down tremendously. Yeah. And if that borrower has done something different or doesn't supply, you can't believe how many people go on vacation after they sign that contract to the house or whatever. So, again, I'm going to take it back to that communication piece between you, the realtor, the LO, of, hey, do you have everything you need? Is the borrower doing this? Do we have a tentative approval? Do we have a conditional approval? What conditions do we have? When's that person going to get that to you? And that's going to avoid that last minute delay.
Good deal. We got some announcements to make, some really cool money-saving things going on in Cincinnati. We're going to talk about in the next break, after this break. You're listening to the Rock and Roll Real Estate Hour on 1480 WDJO Cincinnati.
J.O.
Welcome to my musical history lesson for January 3rd, 2015, because today in 1969, appearing live on The Lulu Show on UK TV, Jimi Hendrix was booked to perform 2 songs, this one, Voodoo Child, which he performed in full. Then he stopped performing his new single, Hey Joe, after a verse and chorus, and instead launched into a version of the Cream song, Sunshine of Your Love, as a tribute to the band who had split a few days earlier. He then proceeded to continue jamming, running over their allocated time slot, preventing host Lulu from closing the show properly. Today in 1970, working on the Get Back sessions in Studio 2 of EMI Studios in London, 3 Beatles, Paul, George, and Ringo, record 16 takes of the George Harrison song, I, Me, Mine. John Lennon was away in Denmark at the time, and a decade later it became the title of George Harrison's autobiography. And today in 1970, B.J. Thomas started a 4-week run at number 1 on the U.S. singles chart with Raindrops Keep Falling on Your Head. This song was featured in the film Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. We all remember that. What a great song. Today in 1972, 2 weeks of rehearsals for Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon tour began at Bermondsey in London, England. This is a little musical real estate trivia. The venue was owned by the Rolling Stones. They were investors. How about that? And in 1973 today, 2,000 international fashion editors and experts voted Mick Jagger and Bianca Jagger 2 of the top dozen best-dressed men and women of 1972. And today in 1976, the Bay City Rollers went to number 1 on the U.S. singles chart with Saturday Night. At the height of their U.S. success, the Scottish group signed a deal to promote breakfast cereal. Does anybody know what cereal it was? I looked and looked all over the internet, could not find out what breakfast cereal they were promoting. Oh, well. Happy birthday, John Paul Jones. He was born today in 1946. You know who he is. He played bass and keyboards and was producer with Led Zeppelin, who had the 1969 U.S. number 4 single, Whole Lotta Love. The band's 4th album, released in 1971, featuring the rock classic Stairway to Heaven, which sold over 37 million copies. As a session player in the 1960s, he worked with, get this, the Rolling Stones, the Yardbirds, Donovan, Jeff Beck, Herman's Hermits, Lulu, Tom Jones, and in recent years he's worked with REM on 1992 Automatic for the People album, and is a member of the Crooked Vultures. There you go. Happy birthday, John Paul Jones. What a musician. That ends my musical history lesson for today. Back to more real estate stuff. How about that? Didn't know that the Rolling Stones were investors, did you?
I did not.
Ed, we were looking at some predictions for 2015. We are also looking at 10 reasons why 2015 will rock the real estate world. I firmly believe this is the year. And one reason is rates are going up.
That's the prediction. That's the indication from the Fed.
They've got to. They can't go down.
That they have to start taking the foot off the easy monetary policy. They will stop. They've stopped buying the mortgage-backed bonds. We've had some international things that have kind of helped keep rates down, but ultimately they will go up.
I remember. I mean, back in the day, and back in the late '80s and early '90s, I'd tell buyers, they drop down to single digits. Mm-hmm. You get an 8% interest rate. Wow! Mm-hmm. And now buyers, when they bump up to 4.25%, they go, "That's outrageous! Outrageous! That was a gift back then."
Well, if you'll recall, Gary, there's the days back in the old bond loans where people would line up, camp out for 3 or 4 days to get a 10 or 12% mortgage because it was that far below market.
Yeah. First house I bought, we got a VA loan assumption at 10% because rates were 13%.
Yeah,
that was a big deal.
Things change, and I think that's the part where we try to tell people rates are, from an affordability index, very affordable. Even if they go up a full point, it's still very affordable. Mm-hmm. But there's not a lot of urgency on folks, and I think that's the education part that you're trying to say. If you're very rate conscious, now is the time.
And rates aren't everything, are they? You have to look at all the costs involved because that's something else that's going to be coming out. A little bit more disclosure of all these costs, make the playing field a little more even. Is that what's going to happen? Yeah.
Yeah. Full disclosure. Yeah. A lot of and some of the old days we talked about what happened back in the old days is there were a lot of lenders that would say, "Oh yeah, your closing costs are $1,000. Get to closing, shock, they're $2,000." You knew if a lender like me and we'd give the customer the good faith that's what it was going to be. We did not bait and switch, but there were lenders that did that, and we all pay for the bad eggs, and sometimes that requires over disclosure. But full disclosures out there. That's the financial transparency. That's all what Dodd-Frank wants. Put the customer first, and then some things it causes more paperwork and more review process and. From a lender standpoint, it costs us more to do a loan internally than it ever has in the past.
Yeah. We haven't given out your phone number yet. Why don't we tell the people how they can get in touch with you?
My office number is 513-551-5430.
And now if they call you and they want to refinance their house, you can do that.
We can do refinance. We can do
You'll
purchase.
probably put them in touch with one of your ACE
Yeah, we have loan officers. We talked about spread out geographically throughout the area. And we try to partner them with someone that's either close to where they work or close to where they live, from a convenience standpoint.
You've had 3 or 4 different ones come in here and do the show for you over the past year or 2 years. And they're all excellent.
Yeah, we have a very seasoned staff. They're very professional, that very knowledgeable about the industry in today's world.
Yeah, they are. They're very passionate about their job. And it really pays off if you take good care of your customers and clients and stay in touch with them. Last year, Mary Jo and I, we looked at our business for 2014, and 70% of our business was past clients and personal referrals. That's huge. That's because we do stay in touch with folks.
Yeah, personal referrals, repeat clients. It's what this industry is about. Same in our world. That's how we have a lot of relationships. You and I go way back.
Yeah.
I still know some of the folks that you used to work for, and they're still in the business, and they've known us for years and years, and they trust us. It's a trust factor.
Well, your name is pretty well known in the industry in Cincinnati. You mentioned Ed Hensley to any other most mortgage lenders know who you are or know of you because you've just been around for a while, and you always do a great job, and you come highly respected.
And Gary, I don't know if you know this, but I am a part of the Cincinnati Mortgage Bankers Board now. I am the current vice president. I will be president in June.
Wow,
of the,
that's
of
cool.
the, of
See,
our
you
trade
are moving
organization.
up. You
So,
are moving up.
I'll give our organization a plug there. So in June,
Right.
I'll be the new president. Right now, our current president's Glenn Hodge.
Right. Now tell me about this Lyft funds. You mentioned to me you didn't know a whole lot of it's brand new. And
Lyft was a program.
are we unveiling something that nobody else knows about right now?
It was out there in November, Gary, and I didn't know if you and some of your viewers had heard of it. It's for the city limits of Cincinnati. If you're buying a home within the city limits, there's a $15,000 grant program.
Okay.
It was a program that's being administered by working in neighborhood housing services. Originally, there was a 2-day event down at the convention center where people could go in and do a registration. And registrations were taken. People had until January, I believe it's January roughly 20th, to execute that, get it qualified. For those people that don't make it, that's going to open back up in the middle of June, and I have to get the exact date. It's either the 18th or the 20th.
Mm-hmm.
If those folks did not get it, the money's going to open back up. History will tell us there'll be about a 50% fallout, 30% fallout. But if
so there's only so much funds to be used.
Yeah, it was a settlement by a large lender. There's several lenders involved in the program. You can go to neighborhood housing services and get the complete list. We are one of them.
Okay.
The bottom line, kind of the quick nutshell: $15,000 for your down payment, free.
Wow.
That's just
no payback.
no payback.
Wow.
As long as you
That's
stay in
huge.
the house in 5 years. It's based on income. It's depending on the loan program, 115 to 100%, 120% of the median income. So let's use an example. Let's say you're a family of 2 and you're in the 120% category. You can have a maximum family income of $65,800.
Okay. That's
Okay. If you have a family of 4, that raises to 82 something.
okay.
Again, we're not the only lender. We are a partner with Neighborhood Housing Services on this. It was actually the lead lender, and the funds originally came from Wells Fargo with one of the settlements early on some of the things that happened on a national level. There's about 6 to 8 lenders involved in the program.
So if you buy a $150,000 house, about $22,000 of that down payment would be paid for you by this Lyft fund.
Well, $15,000, what you could get, you would have to have your normal down payment, and then you get $15,000 additional to put down.
Wow. Okay.
So using that example of ours, we talk about a CHAMP program with the 5% down. So you'd have your 5% your own, and you get another $15,000 on top of that.
That's huge.
So would be more than our loan officers would be more than willing to kind of give more of the programs. Go to the neighborhood housing website. I call it free money. People are always looking for down payment assistance programs. Yeah. This is a great one. Things to keep in mind for the future is typically on March 1st, welcome home funds from Federal Home Loan Bank come out. That's another $5,000.
All right. We need to go away for our last break. You're listening to the Rock and Roll Real Estate Hour on 1480 WDJO Cincinnati.
At First Financial Bank, we see change as a good thing. Like when we changed our online and mobile technology to help our clients see their money in a whole new way. But sometimes, change isn't so good. Like when your free account starts costing you money. Our eFree checking account puts you in control so you can bank how you want, when you want. If your account is changing, why shouldn't you? Visit your nearest banking center to switch today. First Financial Bank, putting your success first. Member FDIC. E-statements required to open account.
Get on. Let's rock the house.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Gary Rossignol. I'm with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Professional Realty. You're listening to the Rock and Roll Real Estate Hour. I am called the Rock and Roll Realtor because I play with the greatest classic rock band in Cincinnati. They are none other than the Bluestone Ivory. We've been around since forever. I was an original member since 1969, and we got back together in 1999, play our 30-year high school class reunion, been together ever since then. We rocked the place New Year's Eve at the Marriott in Westchester. I mean, we had almost everybody that came stayed until 1:15 and danced the last dance. It was huge. It was a great time. So also with my dear friend Ed Hensley, but we have my friend, your friend, a great human being, just a lovely person. I love her to death. Her name is Ria Davidson. Good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning, Jerry. I'm good. How are you? Happy New Year.
How about that introduction for 2015?
What a way to start morning, much less year.
Yes. And say hi to Ed Hensley.
Hi, Ed. How are you? Happy New Year.
You too, Ria. Hope you're doing well.
I am. It's been a very nice holiday with my family.
Good. Well, we know a few families that had a nice holiday too. I will have the video ready later on this afternoon. I'll email it to you. You'll be able to sit and watch. Just great. It was a great show on the 20th of December, and I'm still get goosebumps just re-looking at it and listening to it. It was a great show.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. And, our families just said some of the most wonderful things. And, as I told you then, all we told them was, Santa was coming. It's at a radio station. Are you comfortable, if he should ask you to be interviewed? And we didn't know, what they would say. We didn't prep them in advance. And certainly you didn't either, I can't imagine. And so for them to be able to say some of those things, I was sitting here listening, crying, and it's heartwarming. It really is.
Well, I asked Kyle right on the. I says, "Do you brainwash these folks or something?"
No, and again, the things that we do, you wouldn't think would elicit such a huge response. Just the things that we do are kind of basic. It's gifting, and it's being there to answer the phone.
You're just helping people. You're just helping them feel comfortable about life.
Yeah, but and so it's just so heartwarming. It really is on our side. It makes what we do every day, as difficult as it can be sometimes, to know how we're helping. And so, I told one of our moms yesterday who's going through a difficult time. I said, everybody needs someone. Everybody needs, or I said, a someone. Everybody needs a someone. Mm-hmm. And if you don't feel like you have that in your life, even if you could be surrounded by tons of people in a room, but if you feel like you have no friends in that room, to be able to know that you can call someone who gets it, who gets what you're going through, and they won't judge you, and can keep what you say private. A lot of these people are going through terrible times emotionally and physically, and their marriage might be suffering because of what's going on with their child, and certainly the financial struggles that happen. And so it's what we do is so needed. We didn't realize how deep the hole went when we started.
And they don't feel like they're getting a handout. They feel and they don't feel super obligated either. They know their part. They know that they're getting help today, and it's going to be up to them to give help to someone else in the future. It's called pay it forward.
And, they want to do that. And, another good example of that, we have a private Facebook page for our patients and families. Actually, we have several of them, several different kinds, depending on what the grouping is. And for our families, I'll always post, hi, everybody, we have a new family. Please welcome them. And immediately, within seconds of my post, it seems like, we've got 30 people replying, welcome home, welcome to the family, we're here for you. And that's paying it forward, because they were there early on, or each one of them had that same welcome, that same wonder, what are they going to be like? Am I going to feel uncomfortable by the help they give me? Am I going to, is anyone going to be out there listening to me? Yeah. And once they know what it feels like, they want to do that for someone else, to be there and say, welcome home, Right.
And your website is?
Dragonfly.org. And we are really looking to connect with movers and shakers, especially this month. Corporate leaders, thought leaders, opinion leaders. We have a capital campaign that we're going to be launching at our gala, and it's going to become national news pretty quickly. And we really need help making sure that the right movers and shakers also attend our gala.
Okay.
So if anybody listening can connect us with corporate leaders especially, we really could use the help.
And that's on February 14th.
Yes, and you're going to be playing there, Care.
We will be there. You betcha. You betcha. Great.
So, have a great year, everybody. Have much health, happiness, and prosperity to everybody.
You too. We'll talk to you later on this week.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Ria. Bye-bye.
Right, bye.
If you want to help the Dragonfly Foundation, text the word JOY to 80100. That'll put $5 into their account off your phone bill, or TDF to 80100. And next week, well, actually in 2 weeks, I'm not quite sure about this next coming week. I'm going to be out of town. We'll see what's going to happen next Saturday. We'll have a show. I don't know. It might be a replay, but we'll do something this Saturday. But in 2 weeks, I've got Jo Potvin. She's the owner of Design to Market. She's a professional stager, and the very, very important piece of my puzzle, like Ed Hensley and Rakina Niehaus and my wife Mary Jo, who I can't live without. So, but she'll be on. That's on January 17th. Coming up next is Tony Bender and Dane Donovan with the Car Tech Show. And last but not least, this song always gets the crowd on its feet. Even at 10 minutes after 1 o'clock on New Year's Eve, the dance floor was just jam-packed. One of my favorite songs, written by Robert Lamb, which was one of the founding members of Chicago, was recorded for their second album called Chicago 1970 with Peter Cetera on lead vocals. The song was edited and released as a single in June that year, climbing to number 4 on the U.S. Billboard Hot 100 chart. And this is BSI, Bluestone Ivory's live version of 25 or 6 to 4. Thank you for tuning in to the Rock and Roll Real Estate Hour, starring yours truly, Gary Rossignol. For all your real estate needs, you can reach me at 513-777-2402 or go to my website, which is rockandrollrealestateagent.com. I'd like to thank my regular major sponsors for making this show possible: Rakina Niehaus and Art Weber of Wooden Lamping, the musical insurance guy, Gary Rasmussen of Farmers Insurance, Bob Pape with Interlink Mortgage Services, Mike McCormick, the Cincy Tax Coach, Lou Amsoff of Title Screen, Russell Kling with West Banco, Pete McCrary, the Junk King, and Ed Hensley of First Financial Bank. I would also like to thank Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Professional Realty, my broker Dave Massari, and Bob Daniel, my manager. A special thank you to WDJO 1480 Cincinnati, Jerry Welch, station manager Gary Stevens, and my producer Kevin Kinney. A real big thank you to all my clients, friends, family, and fans of Bluestone Ivory, and especially my wife, Mary Jo. Until next week, keep on knocking on my rockin' houses. So long for now.